How are y'all this morning? It is so hot here for December or January. It's not even December anymore. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I'm out of breath. I'm sorry. I had to take the dog out and rush around, all that good stuff. So, how is everybody's day going so far? Everybody's day going good so far? Y'all cooking? What? Let me see if I can get my live chat up here so I can see you guys. Hey, Macbeth, or MacB. What are y'all eating today? I don't guess I'm gonna eat today. I hear the wind whipping outside, but it hasn't started to cool off for a storm or anything. We were supposed to have storms move through yesterday, and it didn't. Storms were supposed to move through day before yesterday, and it didn't. Anyway, that's not what y'all are here to talk and hear about. So, did y'all see the video where Sweetie Pie is interviewing, um, oh gosh, this is my live and I have forgot his name. I'm sorry, that's what happens when you rush and you have 100 names going through your head. Don's co-worker that he fired. Evidently, Miss Donna, the psychic, has been talking to this guy for like months, and Sweetie Pie has been interviewing him for months, and this is just the only piece of footage that they've released so far. And this is the one that Don has been accusing nonstop of taking Summer. And this guy looks to be about, it's not in the video because it's just an audio video, but I have seen pictures of him. And he looks to be about 220 pounds. Healthy looking guy. Decent looking guy. And he has a very pretty young looking wife. I mean, not young looking, but I mean, she's youthful, nice looking girl. Um, they just do not strike me as the type by first look to be meth addicts. They seem to have all their teeth. But anyway, in this audio recording, he said that Don couldn't go home because child services was looking for him. And in the house that they were working on, Don had an ice cooler, assumably, to hold food and drinks. He had a microwave there, so he could basically stay there and not have to go home. And he was staying there, even as late as 9 o'clock at night. So, what could be the reasons Yeah, that's what Don said. But these probation officers are trained to spot things like that. And I just don't believe that because they are very privy on things like that. They watch you pee. They do not allow you to go to the truck and pee. They stand over you and they watch you pee. Anybody who's ever been on color code or has been on probation or any of that, they know and they can tell you that probation officer watches you pee. They watch you pull it out. They look to see. I mean, they do not allow you to go to the truck to pee. But anyway, back to the subject. Um, what could be the reasons why Don would be hiding from child services? And he states to Dudley that he cannot go home. And y'all feel free at any time to hit the super chat button because I am, when you're going through newspaper articles and it says that you have like 1 out of 3 left to view for free. Well, I'm down to 0. I cannot view any more in any of the local papers. I cannot, I'm out of all the free trials in Ancestry or InstaCheck or Truth Finders or White Pages, any of that stuff. I'm out of the free trials, so I'm down to no way to research. So I do need you guys' help to to continue to research for this case. I'm at a very critical point to where I'm about done with the research on the people at the church, and now I need to research everybody on Dawn and Candace's family tree. Everybody that may even be hanging by a thread. Every friend that they have ever come in contact with. Every neighbor that they've ever lived beside. Because if by chance that child was taken, she was taken by somebody they knew. And we need to find out who. And I need y'all's help to do that. I'm willing to put in the time to research this. But anyway, what are some of the reasons why Don could not go home? Was it because he was filthy dirty on drugs? Is it because of the incident in October? Was it the alcohol? Heather, nobody. The thing that gets me, some of Don's family did not even know about Summer. Some of the neighbors in Beach Creek said that they never had laid eyes on Summer before. But nobody has spoke out, and nobody's pleaded for this child on either side of the family. There's been family members come forward like Mary and Jeannie that has spoke out in concern for the child. But nobody has pled for her return. Nobody. Why? And that's what I am here to find out. Why? And another thing that I am running across is this SDA church has adoption centers across the country. They have foster care people across the country. But they could not place these three brothers. Nobody in the church across the country would take in these three brothers. They had to go to the state. Come on now. Really? They didn't get the boys. The boys are not with Don's sisters. They are with strangers in the state. Be right back. I have got to go track down a phone cord. I do this every time. I forget to charge my phone, and then I start a live, and then I get a notification that my phone is going down. How convenient, right? But we'll fix it. And then you've got these other jokers that's not doing any research at all, that's claiming to go to Tennessee looking for summer, when the TBI and Hawkins County clearly states that they are not working with citizens and boots on the ground, and for people to quit sending money to them. And I caught on a live night before last where one of them says to the other, you need to ask more questions because we don't know about this case. And these people in this chat has been on this case for more than 6 months. They're the key. So why don't you ask more about the case? Well, I just seen somebody drop $200 in this chat. Why don't you do your own damn research before you take these people's money to go and make a production to find nothing and to trample on crime scenes? I'm sorry, I've got an issue with that. If somebody is going to go to Tennessee, they need to do their research on the case, especially if they are going to take in hundreds of thousands of dollars from people. You don't jump in the middle of a case, take in all these hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then say to another teammate, well, maybe we ought to ask more questions because these people know we don't. Well, how about you do some research before you go to asking all these people for money? Because people like me out here doing the research, I can tell you exactly. I have brought in $34, not enough yet for one subscription. So I'm doing the research for nothing, for free, pretty much. For them to use my research to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've got a problem with that. And I'm sorry if I went off on a tangent. I'm very irritated about that. I have actually thought about just stopping, just quitting, and shutting my channel down. And just doing my research in the background. Exactly. Exactly. And like I said, the sad part is they're going off of people like me that is been unmonetized for all these months doing the research for them for free. So 2 days ago, I finally monetized, which is going to take months for me to probably make 30 cents. Sure, you can send me an email, Amanda. It's goddess.syn, syn77@gmail.com. And I have brought in $29 on the Cash App and one super chat for $4. That's all I have brought in, period. And like I said, that's not enough for one subscription. And I need a newspaper subscription, and I need a Truth Finder subscription, and an Ancestry subscription. Oh, thank you, Linda. It does help. It does help because that right there with the $34 is at least enough for the Truth Finder subscription. That helps a lot. That helps a lot. But anyway, why, in y'all's opinion, would Don not be able to go home with child services looking for him? And remember that this is the day before. Linda is so sweet. She is. That is just the most awesome thing. I would be willing to look into any case for anybody. But was Don told not to be around kids after the October 20th arrest? Was he not supposed to be living there? Is that why we found a house in Don's name over in Washington County. Well, I know the protection order was dropped, but still, what did CPS have to say about the alcohol and her stating that she was afraid for those kids? And now we know that that's not the only phone call that she made, stating that she was afraid for those kids. We've heard one other phone call where Summer was on the phone with 911. We have heard a phone call where she was pregnant, stating that she was afraid. And let me tell y'all, those two phone calls goes back to X out that whole lie that she told about her mom's phone being the only phone that works when she went to call 911 when Summer went missing. Those past phone calls speak volumes. Or was he so full of drugs and crack and meth and heroin that he was dirty and couldn't go home? Hey, Cher, Happy New Year. Cher, have you asked Don about this? Have you asked Don why he could not go home? I suspect that it was both, that he had been warned about the drugs and the alcohol around the kids, his past behavior, and he probably was dirty. Probably had drugs in his system. But what about Candace? And we knew that Grandis was going to get a prescription filled that very day. Well, sure, it kind of seems like he put the bashing on Dudley for months before Dudley ever spoke out. But it does seem like that they were afraid of something with CPS coming out. And this isn't the first we've heard about Child Protective Services coming. This is just one more horror story that we are hearing about Child Protective Services supposedly coming out. But honestly, there should have been more, because I have made statements that there was, like 4 medical professionals or 5 medical professionals in the church. Now that I have done some digging, 8 out of 10 are doctors or medical professionals. But you don't see those. You don't see the ones that work for the state front and center. You only see the ones that's pretty much on the same level as Don and Candace or regular people. You're not seeing these high and mighty people even come forward and even offer prayers or assistance. Where are these what I call elite people that are buying up the lands? And I'm watching all this land around the area and land assessments being done daily, weekly, monthly. And then you've even got Jodie Sue over here bitching and griping about the land. And the one thing that would bring all the land taxes back down in that area, no matter what, when Jackie Dobbs come in and paid that high price for that land. See, they have been buying all that land real cheap. And Jackie Dobbs comes in and he pays that extremely high price for that land. It drove everybody's land taxes up. It made the value of all that surrounding land just skyrocket. Go in and look at Zillow. Go in and look at any of the realty companies. It skyrockets. The land taxes go way up. So the only thing that brings it back down, it's going to take something atrocious happening. A bad crime. And in Jodie Sue's words, if they would have took her price for it, nobody would be in danger. 2 days before Summer come up missing. Well, something bad did happen. Whether it was planned, pre-planned, whether it was because child services was coming out, whatever happened, by the time this thing's over, the property value is going to fall. Who's going to benefit from that? Who's going to benefit other than the people that's lived there for all these years? The people that wants to buy that land. The land's going to go at a cheaper price, and the land taxes are going to go back down to $200 for 20 acres a year. But anyway, that's not what this segment of my show is about. This segment of my show is about reasons why y'all think Don would be hiding from CPS. Right. And I believe that Andy's mom and uncle put that land up for sale through the realty company, hoping to get a high price for it, not realizing what it was going to do to that community as a whole when they got that kind of price for it. And I have still not got an answer from Jodie Sue as to why nobody told the police about her and Andy and his mom owning that land at 5600 Lone Star Road, not but just a few seconds away from where that last picture of Summer was supposedly taken. Candace says, I left my driveway and I took a left and I went down there and then I took another left and I drove all the way back into the holler just as far as I can go. Go to Google Earth and you look at that off of Lone Star Road and you see where that trailer sits. And we have still yet to hear anything from Jodie Sue Brown about that property at 5600 Lone Star Road. But we do know that that picture of Summer was taken on Lone Star Road. This is a different property. It's still in the Beach Creek community, but it's off of Lone Star Road. Only seconds from where that last photo, staged photo, of Summer was supposedly taken. And I say it again, staged. And I think Cher will back this up. The videos in the church of Summer running around, if you can go back and find some of those videos of Summer running around, that particular child almost has red hair. It is a auburn blonde red. It is not blonde blonde. I don't know what's going on there, but it's another. Hey, Enchanted. It is another discrepancy in the way Summer looks at times. And Summer looked awful chunky in that last picture that was taken of her. So, will the real Summer please stand up? Will they please let her? And there is also an adjoining property on Beach Creek. Again, this is not even supposed to be what my show is about, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. There is an adjoining property on Beach Creek that has unfinished basements in it. And my point being is if Don was that afraid of CPS that he could not go home, what was done with Summer? Was she temporarily handed off? Was she hidden? I live in the country, okay? I live in that mountainous terrain, not close to them, but I'm within, a 5 hour window. I'm in the Appalachian Mountains. I'm telling you, lived here all my life. I cannot get out in these woods and walk barefooted. There is no way that that child walked very far off of that property in the summertime barefooted. The briars, the thorns, the piney underbrush would have not only just tore her feet up, it would have cut her feet up. There would have been blood just from the thorns and the underbrush. Where the thorns were puncturing the bottom of her feet would have left what? What would that have left, y'all? A blood trail. For the what? For the dogs to have picked up. So that child did not wander off. I don't care how tough the bottom of her feet was from running around barefooted. I've got tough feet, but I can only go so far out in these woods barefooted. The wild blackberries alone tear me up. Fact. If we go wild blackberry picking, I have to wear long sleeves or I come back with my arms cut up. And no matter how small the cut, it leaves a scent. It leaves DNA. And y'all got to remember, we live in a world of touch DNA. And that's what these dogs are trained to. If he was living in fear that he could not go home because of child services, did the elites at the church give him a temporary way out? And then you ask, well, if that's the truth, why didn't they just hide the child for a while? Well, they had to report her missing, or else child services would. Where's Summer? She couldn't just vanish. There had to be some sort of cover story because of child services. That's why they couldn't just quietly adopt her out. That's why she couldn't just quietly go live with somebody, is because of child services. Whoever did the super chat for the $1.76, I missed it, but I do see it up top. I thank you so much for that. That helps so much. Thank you so much. Well, in Tennessee, child abuse is under 8 years old is a Class E felony. Class E is just like one step above a misdemeanor. I'm not sure that that would be enough to even be considered a third strike because most of the time they just plead it down to a misdemeanor because I mean it is just it's barely there. Class E's are so low of a felony. It's not like a class A or a class B felony. It is the lowest felony that you can get in the state. So I don't know that that would even be enough to give them a third strike, but it would be enough to get them a little bit of jail time. But after they found any kind of sexual abuse or SA, they may up that to a class D or a class B or some other higher felony for sure. But that's why she couldn't just quietly go live with somebody or quietly be handed off or quietly, was because CPS would definitely want to know, where is this child? So there had to be some sort of cover story as to where she went. Where is she? Because I've asked myself 100 times, well, if they didn't want her anymore, why not just quietly adopt her out? Why not just let Robin adopt her? Why not just let... Because the fact is that Don did want her. Don did love her. In his own way, Don loves that child. And he wanted her, whether Candace did or not. So he didn't want to permanently get rid of her. You can go back and look at that first WJHL interview. Don has tears in his eyes. When he does the interview where he's taking us, it's not an interview, it's a video, where he's taking us for a ride. He's in the car and he's showing us where he backtracks to. And he gets out of the car and he's standing in front of the hunting blind down at the creek. Look at him when he looks at that hunting blind. It's like he's stuck in a moment in time. And he's almost starts to cry. I believe that he loves her and he misses her. Candace, on the other hand, I think was jealous of her. I think she resented her. She took too much of Don's time. She was taking her husband away from her. Don focused too much of his time on Summer. So I think the majority of the physical abuse was coming from her. Can't prove that. But I don't think Don wanted to permanently get rid of her. So I don't think adopting her out was what he wanted. But to quietly pass her off to somebody until this child service thing passed. Yes, I think that has happened, but to who? And then who helped him? Is it the elites in the church? Because I don't believe it's family. We've got family members that didn't even know Summer existed until this happened. Or they say they didn't know Summer existed until this happened. We've got neighbors at Ben Hill that say that they never seen summer before. And to me, that's odd because living in these small communities, it's like yesterday. Okay, I don't get out in the community a lot because of the job that I do. But holidays and stuff like that, a lot of us do gather at the square. Um, we had a big barbecue at the square last night. So we went down to eat barbecue, but there was so many people in the community that was bringing out new babies. And that's what they do. 4th of July, New Year's, Christmas. There's things that happen in these communities to where the younger generations bring in their new babies. And it's, oh, look what I've got. Look what I've got. And when a new baby's born, just about everybody in these smaller communities know about it. That JTC Games is a joke. He did not even mention, go back and look at his dates. He did not even mention Robin Lane or Branch Davidians until 6 days ago, after I had mentioned Branch Davidians. And then he still did not have any information on the Branch Davidians. And that's because I do not drop documents. Because I got tired of people stealing my information. And when he Googles her name and he's showing this stuff, he does not even have the right person. He's got her living down in Chattanooga, and he's spelling her name Layne, and he's got the wrong bunch of lanes. Exactly. Savannah, it's like he has seen her, he has seen pictures of her. I think that they may have her in a boarding school somewhere. Now, everybody says there's no way that whole church is in on this. The whole church wouldn't have to be in on this. Just a couple of the elites would have to know about it. To everybody else, it's a kidnapping. She has walked away. She has. But I did run across some documents to where some land was taken from this family, and it was a lot of land in Tanzania. Well, the family fought back against the church, and they wanted their land back, and it ended up in court. Well, their boys were on their way back from Sabbath school, and they come up missing. Well, the boys were found a few days later dead in a field with animals eating on them. And it seems like anytime anybody fights back against the church over land, something like that happens. There was another case that I was reading about that involved the church, and the little 18-month-old boy wouldn't say amen after every time they ate, so they starved him to death. And they ended up finding him in I believe it was in a box in a shed somewhere. But because he wouldn't say amen, he had a demon inside of him that they couldn't get out. There was another one that was shot in the head by his SDA foster family. And the list just goes on and on and on and on. So I can tell you that it happens. But do I think that that is what happened? Don't think so. Was But what does come to my mind is Miss Donna has seen them put her on an altar and stab her repeatedly. If you go back and listen to Miss Donna's what would you call it, prediction, and we now know that they do sacrifice on their Sabbath, their full moon rituals, their festivals and pagan holidays, and like that big video I put out the other day. Um, the video said something about you wouldn't think that God appointed a sickly, deformed girl to lead the SDA church, and it was talking about Ellen G. White. And it said, but it did, and it had, but now she's dead. And now we need another. And something about, and there's rumors that there is a new one. And it has. And if you listen to what he says, he implies that a new one has been chosen, a new prophetess has been chosen. And when you're reading into their literature, now they believe that the high power is feminine, and they're looking for this new prophetess to take Ellen G. White's place. So yes, that comes to mind. And they have another video that is called the perfect female lamb. I'm working on putting that video out, but it just, y'all think the last one made me shake? This one really made me shake. And the video was just so shaky, I hate to put it out. It is hard to wrap your mind around all this. But you know, Donna did say that. And she said something about a gingerbread house. And there is a gingerbread house, or a house that looks like a gingerbread house, over in Maryville, Tennessee. And Maryville, Tennessee straddles Gatlinburg, Tennessee. But I'm not forming my research around anything that Donna has said. But some of my research is heading head on with what she said, and I can't help that. It's like the pictures of David and the three others dressed as what we thought were monks. Well, now I know that that is them dressed as Jesus priests for this new moon festival. Exactly. And I think David comes and goes with the church when they need him during these festivals. And that's why he is given gifts from the church when he performs for the church. And all of these churches don't just have, one name like SDA, some of the Church of Christ and some of the Church of Gods and these living trust and this living this, and they have 100 different, the Church of the Seven Seals, they're all the same thing, all the same religion. Candace is an actress for sure. These people are not, Don and Candace are not from Tennessee. They act like they are hillbilly. They even try to carry the accent. They try to carry the way we speak. They pick up well on things like that. They're not near as dumb as what they make out to be. Candace was in the carnival. One of the first things she picked up was how to be a con artist, how to rip off people without them ever knowing it, how to pickpocket people, sleight of hand, illusion. But what would there be to pulling off hiding summer? What would that consist of? It wouldn't be hard, especially if you've got a couple of doctors involved that believe wholeheartedly in hiding children from CPS, because this church hates CPS. This is one of those churches that firmly believes in liberty and gun rights and anti government. You got to remember what the government has already done to these people on occasion after occasion after occasion, from Ruby Ridge to Waco. They hate government involvement with children. So if you've got a whole lot of doctors and you've got this and you've got that, it's not hard to temporarily disappear one. And all Candace has to do is just hand her off. The rest is done for her. And as I stated in my last video, The reasons I am on this church, not only because they're just weird, they have made theirself front and center and involved theirself, just like Jodie Sue. And that's my other top theory. Involves her. But she also has links to New York. But there's just a couple of things that Don refuses to point fingers at. He'll be happy to tell you that a drug addict got his kid. He'll be happy to tell you that she's in a motel room with child traffickers somewhere. He'll be happy to tell you that she was abducted or kidnapped. But what he won't point the finger at and say is that maybe somebody in the church helped get her gone. He won't say that maybe one of the boys had an accident with her. And sometimes it's what people don't say is what's really the underlying truth. And the one thing that makes him the maddest is when you point out the truth. Because the truth hurts. The truth is scary. And if that truth is found out, then all the cards fall. Guys, any super chats would be appreciated. Like I said, I cannot even look at any more newspaper subscriptions in the area. I have used all the free trials that I can use. I cannot open up any more free trials for any ancestry, any ancient faces. I can't open up any more free trials for Truth Finder. I can't open up any more free trials for Insta background checks, white pages, any of that stuff. So anything that you can give would be so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate it. All it's going to do is help me research. I promise I will not spend $1 on it for a pack of cigarettes or gas or anything. Everything that you guys give will be spent on research materials. I promise you that. Again, thanks to the ones who have donated. Oh, thank you, Susie. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. But we have got to start shaking trees. There are a lot of QAnon links in Candace's tree. I cannot even begin to get into that yet. I have got to open that link in that tree and shake the hell out of it. If you want to send anything, PayPal. There's PayPal links. I can put those out. I do have Cash App too. But when I was just putting those out, in 6 months, I had only brought in $29. So nobody was really helping that way. Absolutely, because their biggest date is November the 2nd. And November the 2nd is also the Day of the Dead. And the Day of the Dead is when the veil comes down. And they put out all the offerings for the dead ancestors to come back in many, many, many cultures. The Aztecs and the Mexicans especially. We are finding out they don't even really go by our calendars. They go by the ancient calendars of the moon. And just wait until you see the video of the spotless female lamb. I mean, it just really gives you the damn creeps. It gives you the willies. Well, like I told everybody, I took like ancient Nordic traditions when I was in school. I would take things that nobody else wanted to take as scholarships on my degrees, just so I could finish my medical degree. Just whatever would keep me in college. But I don't have a degree in any of it. It would just be a couple of semesters of this or a couple of semesters of that. But it would just be whatever. I would take scholarships nobody else wanted. And I'll tell you, the reason I go by Valkyrie is because I was on a helicopter one day and there was a guy that had been shot in the head. And he should have died by all means. And I had treated him and I had walked to the front, and my partner was in the back with him. And the guy opened his eyes and he looked at my partner and he asked my partner, he said, "Where is the Valkyrie?" And my partner responded to him, he said, "Just lay down. You've got a lot of drugs in you. And you really should not even be here with us. We don't even know how you survived." And he said, "No." He said, "Just a few minutes ago, there was a long, dark-haired Valkyrie that picked me up and she saved me." And after that, he just kept going on about the Valkyrie picking him up off the battlefield and saving him. And after that, it was kind of like a long running joke thing that the guys that I worked with would call me Valkyrie. And that's where I got the nickname from. And it happened more than once. So, and that's why I go by that. Not because I worship the Valkyries or anything like that. And basically, the Valkyries would pick up the dead and take them, they would sort out the souls and take them to Valhalla. But this guy just kept going on and on and on about the Valkyrie saving him. And my partner started laughing about it, and they would call me Valkyrie. It was kind of a funny thing, I guess. And the nurses at the hospital, they said that guy would ask for that Valkyrie for like 10 days. and just kept going on and on and on about that angel Valkyrie. That angel Valkyrie that saved him. Happy New Year's to you too. I am an old soul, a very old soul. This, I don't think this is my first go around here. Oh, thank you, Sky. I appreciate that. That since Donna said that she was put on that altar, that just, and then me finding out about the priest of Jesus, and then going back and thinking about those pictures of David Dotson dressed as a monk. And then if you look to the left in those pictures, there's two more dressed up with him. That's creepy. No, not Dudley, David. And David was the first to disappear from the group. Oh, thank you, Mississippi Granny. I appreciate you. Appreciate all of you. And then I researched into these. I know I went back 40 years and researched. Even as famous as JonBenet Ramsey was, she did not have a media manager. She did not have a PR manager. She did not have any of that. Her parents hired a defense attorney. JC Dugard, she didn't have a PR manager, a media manager, any of that. Her parents hired a defense attorney. Xavier Harrison, they used the liaisons through the police department and stuff. I went back and I researched victims and victims and victims and victims. And every victim I researched, nobody had a PR manager except for one, just one, other than Summer Wells. And that was Elizabeth Smart. She was the only one that had a PR manager and no attorney. And it's funny that Don Wells has referenced the Elizabeth Smart case and said that he has run into Brian David Mitchell on the street when he had Elizabeth and gave him money. No, Lisa, because that was another case that the church was caught up in. The LDS church. Edward Smart had been trying to leave the LDS church because he was gay. And he was also an elder within the church. And they were trying to stop him from leaving the church. And Elizabeth come up, got gone, from an offshoot of the church. And guess what? He didn't hire an attorney. He hired somebody like Tim Mullen. And Tim Mullen will not say if he has ever handled another case like this. And now when I go back to find out who all was involved with that Las Vegas firm that was hired to handle Elizabeth Smart's PR case, it's all written in that Kabarbin style stuff, and I don't know how to translate those websites. Maybe Carl knows how, but anything written in that Kharbarban, and it looks like Muslim typewriting, I don't know how to translate that. And it's just been in the last few days that it was translated over into that Muslim typewriting. But Elizabeth Smart's case was the only case that I can find that was ever handled other than Summers by a media manager or a PR firm. And it just so happened they were trying to keep him from leaving the LDS church or being gay. When she come up, got gone. I'm sorry, McBee. My mind just runs so fast, and there's so many things that I want to talk about in such a short period of time that I do kind of jump around. Robin's sister Sandra uses the K middle name too. Are both sisters' middle names K, or does K signify something? When you put up Koresh there, that made me throw up that question. And I want to say maybe it was her mom that also had the K initial for the middle name. And another question I would like to pose here, and I've called her out, and I have called her out, and I'm going to call her out one more time. The day Jodie Sue said that she heard that scream. Now I've got a document here that says that Dave Rader with EquiSearch said that that property was so covered in hypodermic needles that he felt that his team was at risk searching that property and in that creek. Now, Jodie Sue says that she was walking that creek barefooted. How did she keep from stepping on hypodermic needles? If she's really telling the truth here. So my question to you, Jodie Sue, is Have you been tested for hepatitis C or HIV from stepping on needles in that creek or on that property? I think it's been said that Sheriff Lawson is Baptist, but what kind of Baptist? No, my name's not Helen. But do y'all remember EquiSearch saying that that property was so covered with hypodermic needles that he felt that his team was at risk at that creek and in that creek? I don't know what Jodie Sue is doing now. But I know that she said that she was so sick that the kids was having to hold her up to walk. And then magically she was well enough to walk herself. How do you go from being so sick that you can't walk and your two children have to hold you up to being able to walk? And mud is boggy. I don't know if you've ever walked in mud, but creek water is muddy and silty and it's tough to walk in. Well, I don't think Grandis ever went to the hospital. It's come out in recent statements. And Don said on the behavior panel they went to fill her prescription that morning. In the last couple of months, it's not been she went to the doctor or to the hospital. It has been they went to fill her prescription that morning. Jodie Sue is chasing a reward. And I know this because when I call the sheriff's department, I'm told she's crazy because she calls down here 2 or 3 times a week. Because I called about the threats that was made days before Summer come up missing. And they know, they've seen it. They know the possibility of her being involved. And then she tries to hide her involvement by calling down there a couple of times a week and giving them information of what she thinks that she finds on YouTube. Well, I have even thought the way Jodie Sue drives and makes videos at the same time and running that trap constantly. She never shuts up. And if Summer was walking away from the house, what if she hit Summer? This has just crossed my mind. And she hid Summer. And then Andy came along and helped her get her up to their house until after all the police left and everything. And then they done whatever they done with her. Because if you go back and listen, he's screaming at that little girl about seeing Summer in a ditch somewhere. Now, I don't think that's what happened. I think this is going to have to do with the land more than likely. But just let that scenario sink in about something like that happening. But that would have put her walking along the road, not in briars or thorns. But again, that goes back. Why would Jodie Sue say that she was walking in the creek and then Candace say she was not wet at all? Oh, yes, Don definitely assesses the situation and then he adjusted everything as he speaks. Exactly, Susie. By who? And we need to keep just shaking the hell out of these trees and calling people out until they're tired of being called out and saying, okay, here you go. Here she is. And what do y'all know about QAnon? I guess I said that right. QAnon. I'm not sure how you say it. And y'all remember in that crazy phone call that Candace made, how she said something about storm the Capitol? I'm starting to think that might have been code to somebody somewhere. That Hillman has the felony for shooting somebody in the throat for for trespassing on his property. And the man that found Kaylee Anthony's body, little Casey Anthony's little baby's body in Florida, is related to Leslie Hill. Crunk was his last name. Roy Crunk. Kronk. He's originally from Kingsport, Tennessee. Jackie Dobbs' wife, Alice, is from some of the same places in Florida as a lot of these other people are from in Florida and Michigan. So I'm wondering if the Dobbs aren't part of the church too. So I'm not discounting that they all knew each other too. But I can't prove that yet. That is just a theory of work. But I can prove that Leslie Hill is related to this Roy Crunk who found Kaylee Anthony's body. And they thought for the longest that he planted her body there. And he knew that her body was there for months before he actually turned it into the authorities. He told his kids that he knew where that body was at months before he turned in where that baby's body was at. He was the electrical worker, worked for the electricity company down in Florida. And it seems like a lot of these people have been to Florida. Exactly, Coral. There was, which I've turned it into the TBI, and this was way back when I first found it. And way back when I first talked to the sheriff's department about Jodie Sue. And this was back when I first started my channel too. I had found a cemetery that was registered in David Dobbs' name. And it was a cemetery that was just unmarked, basically. And it looked like it was places out there, when you run Google Maps, where it was just like people that didn't maybe matter, that didn't even have headstones out there and stuff. And to pass by and look, it just looks like barren land. And this is how bad some creators and some people want this reward. And like I said, at the time, I was just a viewer. A lot like most of you guys. This was one of my first videos that I ever put up. I was contacted by a creator, a pretty popular creator in the Summer Wells community. And I was asked to take this video down until she could get somebody to go out there and look at it. Well, I agreed. And I asked if they were going to contact the TBI. Yeah, it's in Tennessee. And I was told, yeah, but she said that she was going to send somebody out there with drones, that she would let me know something ASAP. Well, I waited that whole day. Didn't get nothing back from her. The second day, she says, well, they're out there with drones, but I haven't heard nothing back. The third day come around, she said, well, they're having trouble reading the footage. They can run the drones, but they can't read the footage. Well, by the second day, I had already contacted the TBI. And this went on for 4 or 5 days. And then she just quit contacting me altogether. And then she told me that somebody else owned the cemetery, so they just quit. I don't know that the TBI ever done anything about it. But when Donna said the other day on Enchanted Life Path, something about a racetrack or something to do about a racetrack, it hit a raw nerve with me. And I'm thinking about putting the video back up. But if and when I do, I'm going to put the emails back up where I was asked to take this down to begin with. Because now I believe that these creators was just simply reward hunting. And when they didn't find what they were looking for, it was like, well, to fuck contacting the TBI. We're just, we quit. But when I contacted the TBI about it, I talked to an investigator, but now it just seems like because some of these people are so high ranked and they carry such high titles that the TBI don't care. And we're seeing land passed now from person to person without it even really being registered. And it's just breaking my heart that some of these tips are just being overlooked. How can 1,500 tips come in and not one lead anywhere? Not one. Does that not just seem like an ridiculous amount? I don't know the PIs. I don't. I don't know if it's because Lawson is related to Don, or because some of these people involved work for the state of Tennessee, or work within the community, or all these land buys is generating so much income for the county, the city, and the county. Oh gosh. All right, I have got company, guys, so I am going to cut this down. And if it goes private for a few minutes, just remember that's the way mine does as the video is uploading. Just give it a few minutes and it will come back. And remember, I love you guys. I appreciate each and every one of your super chats. It will only be used to further my research. I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for every super chat that I got today. I cannot thank you enough for that. Thank you so much. But I love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.